3 a.m. Actually, it's now 4:02. So, can't sleep, and it's not your fault. You guys are awesome. Of course, it's not your fault. It's my fault. I'd love to say that it's because I'm thinking about games and all the great moves I'm going to make in my games and all that sort of stuff, but it's not. Animals, cats, dogs, we're renovating. There's nowhere to lock them outside where they won't try and get inside and make a bunch of noise. There's nowhere for them to be comfortable in a familiar environment in a room where they won't try and get out. And once I'm awake, so here we are. Heights of Courage. Yeah, I'm about to play a Vassal edition of this, and thought I might as well use the time in a worthwhile manner now that I'm awake, instead of laying in bed tossing and turning thinking about work. I'm going to set my pieces up, check out a couple of rules in here that I've heard are suspect, and see if we can't find some way to have a very effective Israeli Defense Force situation. So we'll see what happens. I've got to get through a Saratoga Vassal turn as well, try and knock that out, and that should take us to about 6 a.m. and then we'll be back at it, back to a regular day. And if I think of anything really insightful or fascinating, I'll share it with you later. So this is interesting. I'm just reading the rules for Heights of Courage. There are a couple of things in this game that I guess you would call them unique. The turn sequence has two elements to it. Firstly, and there's a fast and a slow phase. And as of turn 11 onwards, you can elect to use the slow phase. And if you do that, then what that does is it skips the combat and exploit phases for the for both sides actually. The only exploit phase that exists in a game turn, if you both chose to use slow, would be the Israeli exploit phase, which is inserted into the Syrian turn sequence. So a typical turn would have reinforcements and movement and supply, and then Israeli exploit movement, then combat in the fast, if you were doing the fast version, then exploit for the Syrians, then supply, and then you would switch over to the Israeli turn, and they would do artillery, reinforcement, movement, combat, exploit, supply. Then you do your ceasefire rolling. If it's the slow version, well, then you skip all of those combat and exploit phases except for the Israeli one, which would mean, looking at the map, well, it's basically, and so either side then can then choose whether or not they're using slow or fast from turn 11 onwards to refit, whether or not they're going to refit their army. So the Israelis, for instance, they might want to keep pushing on their counteroffensive towards Damascus and not take any replacement points, because you can only do that when you're in slow-mo. Or, and when you're the Syrians, you would, obviously if you're bleeding out, you would want to take those reinforcements, and so you would forego your combat. So you could end up fighting because the Israelis choose fast. So that's going to be interesting. And the other sticky element that I've read about this, or was told about, unfortunately, is these strong points are similar to the concept of strong points in Yom Kippur, but in this case, stacking restrictions are the same for in a strong point as they are out of a strong point. And these strong points can allow you to ignore retreats. So it's going to make it really difficult for the Syrians, I think, to break through. I'm playing the IDF in this game because I'd heard it was hard for the IDF to win. But now reading and seeing the map, reading these rules about sticky zones of control across the AT ditch and the impact of the AT ditch on combat. Let's just check that again. Where is that table? AT ditch, yeah, attacker is halved, okay, and it's a sticky ZOC as well. So once you enter a zone of control that crosses an AT ditch, you have to stop at that turn. There's no more, none of that moving through the ZOCs like you can in regular SCS. So that'll be interesting as well. We'll see how all that works out and kind of take things from there. There's a couple other little things that are interesting. They've got some specific unit types for Syrian raiders and Zvika, the Israeli special brigade, I think it is. Yeah, it doesn't count for stacking. Cannot overrun as an attacker, but it's exempt from supply. Zvika is actually it's an Israeli unit. Sorry, is a Syrian unit. Duh. I just thought it was under the Israeli special rules. All right, that's all I got. That's all I got for you. It's okay, because I'm bored. I'm back. Just finished up getting Heights of Courage all set up to play on Vassal. Wrapped up a turn of Saratoga, so that's goodness. Got some online chat going with some Aussie friends. I'm about to go and do the air phase of Case White, turn 1. I've got all the movement done, and we're now looking at trying to layer in the play for the air. And I've summarized the rules and had a look at it. Also found a little player's guide, like a dummy's guide to Europa. Using that as a backstop as well. So I've got a nice little 3-page summary of the rules. Taken the Scorched Earth rule book and using that as my go-to guide, and then obviously the shorter version of Case White will suffice for what we're doing right now. So we've got that going on, and then that'll probably be 6 o'clock by the time all that's taken care of. And then I think I'm going to get Saints and Armor out and try and crank through a couple of turns of a scenario there and go back and relearn the rules a bit, or invest a little bit more in learning the rules more completely. I think that's an excellent system, and picked up Nothing Gained But Glory. I think I showed that to you guys. I was going to grab it, but well. Anyway, that's all that's going on. This waking up early thing's not good for me, especially when I stay up late. All right.